Hi, Verbling. My name is Michaela. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and today we're talking about gender equality, and we're going to read an article about health. So we'll be talking about health and how it relates to gender. If you guys have any questions on the article we read today, or you'd like to suggest material for a future class, you're welcome to message me on Facebook. That's a great place to get a hold of me. I also update for my future classes, and I'll put my Facebook name in the chat box for you guys. I have plenty of open tutoring hours this week as well. If you guys are interested in a one-on-one private session, book a class. You can do that on my profile. And while I'm waiting for some students to come in, I'm going to message the article we're looking at today. We're going to start with some discussion, but you can load up that article so that you're ready for when we move over there. I also have a list of vocabulary we'll be discussing, and that's the second link coming into the chat box. So let's get started. We have a really interesting topic today, hopefully one that will be ideal for debate and discussion and opinion sharing. I'm excited about it. Every new class has a lot of new ideas. And the vocabulary, I'm going to read the vocabulary list quickly so that we can note pronunciation. The first word is notably, predominantly, empowerment, maternal, burden, tackling, gender norms, spillover effect, appalling, a blight. So those are our vocabulary terms. And if you think you can help us define those terms, let me know. Give a definition in the chat box or come tell us. Since we're waiting a couple more minutes to have someone in class, let's see. Don't forget to friend me on Facebook. I'm going to screen share the document in case anyone wants to get a head start on reading it. So the title is The Unsafe Sex. Should the world invest more in men's health? And we have this cute little picture of a guy smoking. So I like this article because it kind of turns the table a little bit and shows how gender equality is unfair for men and for women. Usually the most debated topic is equality for women, but it goes both ways for sure. All right. Now I'm going to screen share our warm-up conversation questions and our vocabulary. So if you guys think you can help us define it, let me know in the chat box or join and tell us. Here we go. So our first questions today are going to be, do you live a healthy life? And do you do anything unhealthy? Obviously, since we're talking about health today, this is a good way to start off discussing our own personal habits. So, do you live a healthy life? I try to live a healthy life, and I think I usually succeed, but it's tough. There's plenty of temptations, for sure. I'd like to hear about your habits. If you guys are out there listening, put some of your habits in the chat box. What are your healthy habits? What are your unhealthy habits? I think some of my healthiest habits are swimming, and I like to jump rope. And of course, I try to eat healthy. So I think that's a pretty healthy habit. I'm a vegetarian, and I really enjoy being outside and doing and exercising. So those are some of my healthy habits. But my unhealthy habits include sitting in front of the computer for many hours in a row and eating lots of sugary products and being lazy in general, usually on the weekends, watching TV, drinking alcohol occasionally. Paco to class.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paco. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Very well.
Excellent. So, Paco, tell me a little bit about your healthy and unhealthy habits. Do you think you live a healthy life?
Not at all.
Wow.
Not really. Some years
Why?
ago, I had a healthy life, very healthy life. But nowadays, it's a bit different. I have some habits, some bad habits, I think. For example, I always have any drink at night, just a gin tonic or so, just one, but it's a bad habit because it's every day. Also, I eat much more at night than in the than during the day. I don't
All
know
right.
why, but I'm very, very hungry at night, not during the day.
So, what changed? You said you used to be healthy, but then you kind of stopped. What changed?
Well, I went to a healthy center by mistake, because yes, I just went for relaxing, for spending a couple of weeks in my holiday, just relaxing because I was very stressed in that days, and this relaxing house turned out to be a healthy center. And in 2 weeks, I changed my food habits. You say?
Yeah, you can say food habits.
I changed all my food habits. I just eat fruit in the morning. During the day, I never ate something in cans that you get in cans, or never used the salt, the sugar, always fresh products. It's a kind of vegetarian, but radical. radical vegetarians. Was
Like vegans or
Yes,
raw vegetarians?
just vegans, just vegans.
Wow.
Well, not vegans. It was hygienic or but like vegans,
Wow.
like vegans. And after going to this healthy center, I spent a couple of years in the same way, in the same way,
Excellent.
because I mm, I had the experience of of living that way.
Mm-hmm.
But after a couple of years, more or less, a day you try you taste a Coke, another day you taste a very tasty food, and it's very difficult. I find it very difficult in this society, in this kind of life we have, to be healthy. Like you have you have to be very mm, conscious.
Yeah, conscious, health conscious, for
You
sure.
have to be very good conscious to have a very healthy life. If not, you turn out to eat everything and acquiring bad habits,
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of temptations.
Yes, yes. And we are very stressed, and we don't have time. Eventually, you feel down the habits, the normal habits of the society.
Mm-hmm. So,
Mhm.
what are your unhealthy habits today?
Well, it's not very healthy because I try to eat healthy food, but for example, I normally eat very much uh, at night
Mm-hmm.
because it's when I feel like it. When I'm hungry, normally at night, and after eating, after having dinner, I always have a dessert.
I'm guilty of that as well. I love
Yeah.
dessert.
Dessert because I need some sweets, some sugar, and then I always have a drink like a gin tonic or a gin cola or
Got it. So,
always
most of the day is healthy,
every
but
day.
after sunsets, not so healthy anymore.
Yeah, I know, but I don't do it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough.
I'm fragile.
All right. So, we're going to read an article today that has to do with health. And I have a quick list of vocabulary in that article that we should go over so that you know what it means when we hit it. So, let's give a quick definition for these words, starting with notably. Do you know
Notably.
the word notably?
Mm, I think it's be something very that you can see easy or
Uh huh.
easy to see or
Yeah.
more or less
Yeah.
you realize that easily.
Yeah, something prominent, important, easy to see. That's a good
Mm.
definition for that one. All right. How about predominantly? Predominantly.
Predominantly. Mm, it- I'm not sure what it could be.
That one's like mainly or generally.
Uh-huh. Generally, yes, yes,
Hmm.
yes, yes.
All
Yes,
right.
more or less the same in Spanish.
Oh, perfect. What about empowerment?
Empowerment. Mhm. Something related with the power.
Uh-huh, definitely. So, empowerment would be giving power or authority.
Uh-huh. Giving to someone
Mhm.
or
Yeah. So, we could say something like his empowerment is because of um, his position in the company or something. So, what gives him power is his position in the company.
uh-huh. Uh-huh. All right.
All right. How about maternal?
Maternal.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, related with the mother.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So
Burden?
maternal instinct, for example.
Yeah, maternal instinct is a really common use for it.
Mhm.
How about the next one? Burden.
Burden, the first time I see this word.
Perfect. So this word is like a heavy load to be carried or something difficult,
Uh-huh.
like something oppressive, even. Like if I'm hiking and I have a very heavy backpack, that would be a burden.
Hmm.
All
Okay.
right.
Hmm.
Tackling.
Tackling. Hmm. I have heard this word before, but I don't remember.
It's a
Tackling.
common word in sports, specifically American football and rugby. It's
Uh-huh.
when you see people pile on top of each other, kind of attacking each other.
Hmm. Attacking each other.
Yeah, similar to attacking.
Uh-huh.
All
Tackling.
right.
All right.
Gender norms.
Uh, the rules for every gender.
Uh-huh. So how would you define that? What's the gender norm for women? What would you consider kind of normal for women?
Mhm. How I consider what is normal for women.
Yeah, how would you define gender norms?
Mm-hmm.
Like some standard ideas about how women are and how men are.
Mm, no, I don't know what to say here.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that in a little bit.
Okay,
All right. Spillover effect.
spillover effect. No idea.
So the spillover would be like what's remaining. Because if you have a glass and you fill it with water until it spills over, you have like too much. You have this extra or surplus of water. And the spillover is that extra or surplus.
Uh-huh. Okay.
All right. Two more. Appalling.
Appalling.
Mm-hmm.
No idea as well. No idea.
Like horrifying or something offensive.
Something offensive. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one, a blight. I like the way this word sounds. A blight.
A blight.
Mm-hmm.
Blight. I don't know what it is. What does it mean?
It's something negative that usually damages or deteriorates something else.
Uh-huh. A
So
blight.
it's, yeah, like a injury, a wound, a scar, or, but it's usually metaphorical. So not on a person physically, but kind of like metaphorically damaging.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Now that we've defined those words a little bit, let's move over to our article. I put the article in the chat box. Do you have it?
Yes.
Excellent.
I have two links in the chat box.
The first link is the article, and the second link is the list of vocabulary and the questions.
All right. I have the article in my screen.
Awesome. So the title is The Unsafe Sex. Should the world invest more in men's health? What are your ideas when you hear this title?
The unsafe sex. Should the world invest more in men's health? It's more or less telling us that the health, the men's health, is worse than women's health.
Yep. So that's what we'll be talking about.
That men have more bad habits than women.
What do you think are the bad habits men have?
For example, the tobacco and the drinks.
Very true.
Women smoke and drink as well, but I think the men's drink and smoke more than women.
Yeah, I think you're right. Any other habits you can think of?
Not really.
All right, that's a good start. All right. So we have this cool picture of a man smoking a cigarette as he takes a break from his fruit market job in India. And then we have our article. Will you read the first 3 lines for us?
Yes. On average, men aren't as healthy as women. Men don't live as long, and they're more likely to engage in risky behaviors, like smoking and drinking. But in the past decade, global health funding has focused heavily on women.
Thanks. So, if men's health is not as good as women's health, why do you think people usually focus on women's health?
On women's health?
Can you think of any reasons why someone would focus more on women's health even though their health is generally better?
No, I haven't thought.
All right.
Before.
Well, think about it. It's an interesting question, and we'll be discussing it more during this. Did you have a question on the word decade?
No, decade I think is 10 years.
Yep, exactly. All right.
I didn't know how to pronounce, but I know what it means. Decade.
Perfect.
Because the word
yeah, it's got that Latin root. Helpful, very helpful. All right, go ahead and read 3 more of these short paragraphs.
Yes. Programs and policies for men have been notably absent, says Sarah Hawkes from the University of London's Institute of Global Health. She and a colleague published a commentary in The Lancet of Friday calling for more gender equality in global health funding. If you look at the top 10 health problems around the world, they are much more common in men, she tells Schotts. But the current focus is predominantly on women's health.
All right. Any vocabulary questions from those 3 paragraphs?
Funding in global health funding.
Funding. Good one. So funding refers to money devoted to a particular project or organization. So in
Uh,
this case, we're talking about the finances of
uh,
health
mhm.
depending on the gender.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Funding from, for example, in inversion fund.
Hmm.
Hmm.
All
Yes.
right. Cool.
Re
No
re
other questions?
related to the money, to the invest.
Yes, exactly. Any
Hmm.
other questions from these three paragraphs?
No, no, no.
All right. Then read us three more.
Take, for instance, the United Nations Millennium Development Goals. In 2000, global leaders agreed on 8 ways to improve the lives of the poorest people around the world. The fifth goal is especially no, the fifth goal is specifically aimed at maternal health, and all of all of the other goals touch on essential aspects of women's well-being and in turn women's empowerment is critical for achieving the goals, the UN Women's website says. Mhm.
Okay. So we saw one of our vocabulary words, empowerment. So when they
Mhm.
say empowerment, what are they talking about? Women's empowerment is critical for achieving goals. So what's important when they're trying to achieve their goals?
Mhm. What is
How
uh, what is um, empowerment? Giving power to the women?
Yeah, exactly. Giving more power to women is how they want to achieve their goals.
Mhm.
All right. And there was one last line before we go over anything else.
Um, shall I read? Shall I read next
The
or
last line,
the
yeah.
last line? Achieving the goals? The
No, there isn't a. The next one. Very short.
uh, there isn't a specific goal targeted at men.
Right. So again, we see that they're talking mainly about how
Mhm.
most goals and health organizations are focused on women's health, even though men's health generally is not as good. Can you think of any reasons that might be?
No, I don't know.
All right, well, then we'll keep reading to find out. Read the next three paragraphs.
Hawkins agrees that maternal health is important and should be funded. We don't want to see this money diverted away from women's health, she says, but focusing on maternal health means you miss the biggest burdens of disease. Oh, very difficult for me to understand. Hawkins agreed that the maternal health is important and should be funded. Uh-huh. It should be financial.
Mm-hmm.
We we should invest money in this in maternal health.
Exactly.
Okay. We don't want to see this money diverted away from women's health. Mm, I don't understand very well. Diverted away?
Diverted is when something avoids the object. So, in sometimes if it rains a lot, you might have to put a barrier to divert water away from your house, meaning you don't want the water from rain coming into your house and flooding your house. So you put up
Uh-huh.
a barrier and the water avoids your house. So what
Yes.
they're saying is that they don't want to see this money taken away from women and
Mm-hmm.
put in another area.
Uh-huh. So the small divided away from women. Okay, okay, okay. She said, but focusing on maternal health means you miss the biggest burdens. Uh, what burdens meant?
Burden is like suffering or a heavy load, something that's very difficult. I gave the example before of if I go hiking and I have a very heavy backpack, that would be a burden. It's difficult to carry and kind of a drawback, a negative thing.
You miss the biggest burdens of disease. What is
So the
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 biggest
biggest and
burdens of
heaviest problems are being missed because when people focus so much on women's health, they
uh-huh.
miss some important aspects of men's health.
Uh-huh. Yes, yes. Okay. Now I got it.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and continue reading if you're ready.
Okay. Hawkins says that when we look at recent data, men lose 3 times more years of healthy living than women because of tobacco, alcohol, and unsafe driving. Men lose 3 times more years. Unsafe driving.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any of those manly habits?
Um, I don't smoke. I drink alcohol only at night, but I drink.
Mm-hmm. What about unsafe driving?
Um, Unsafe driving. Unsafe driving relating with cars.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Ah,
Do you ever drive in a kind
no,
of unsafe manner?
no, 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 no. I
Good.
don't.
So you only have
I don't
one.
think so. I don't think so. No, no, no. I haven't had any accident so far. Just one several years before.
Mm-hmm. All
But
right. So you have only one out of the three biggest uh, problems, the three biggest causes of men losing healthy years.
mhm. Yes, but it's true that men drives worse than
You think so?
yes, yes, yes,
So
yes.
why do you think that is? Why do men drive in an unsafe way?
They can. I think they normally they know how to drive better than women, but they take normally a lot of risk driving.
So why do you
Especially,
think that is?
I don't know, especially when you when uh, the younger they are, uh, the more risk they take.
Mm, I totally agree with you there. A lot of young men take unnecessary risk when
Yes,
driving specifically.
yes. I think that they have the need to show to show that they can drive very well and
hmm
very
Yeah, I think you hit on an important topic that we're definitely going to talk more about in a little bit. Continue and read one more paragraph for us.
Yes. It's cool to be a man that smokes and drinks, who drives a fast motorbike or fast cars, she says. If you were really serious about saving lives, you would spend more money tackling unhealthy gender norms that promote these risky behaviors. Mhm.
Okay. So this paragraph confirms what you were saying. We have these
Mhm.
young people who think it's cool. They
Yeah.
they want to show off. They want to have a good reputation and be considered super dangerous and manly. And it's because of gender norms, which is
Mhm.
something we started to talk about before. So, what do you think many people see as the gender norm for men?
Let's see, like, gender norms. Mm, I think it means that um giving conscious to the people that this behavior is uh, is a bad behavior.
Hmm. So that would be a good um, way to stop these things from happening. But what do you think are the stereotypes that drive men to want to be like this? So there's like this stereotype of what a man should be and what a woman should be,
Hmm.
which is what they're saying is driving this need for dangerous activities. So when you think of the stereotype of a man, what do you think of?
Hmm. What do I think of a stereotype of men?
Yeah, or maybe what is a good stereotype that you think a lot of people, when people in general think of like what a man is, what do they think of?
Hmm. But I think it depends on the age. It
Hmm.
depends. On one hand, and in the other hand, for the kind of life they are living.
Hmm. That's true, but when we say stereotype, I mean like a very generalized version that's not necessarily true for every person, but kind of like we have these stereotypes about ethnicities or stereotypes about certain people. We have stereotypes for genders as well. Like, for
Mhm.
instance, the stereotype of a woman would be someone very small and dainty and shy and um, someone good at cooking or someone who likes to help others. And so we have these stereotypes of what it is to be a woman. And
Mhm.
sometimes that's a positive thing, but other times it can negatively affect people. And in this story, we're talking a little bit about how the stereotype of a man negatively affects men. So
Yes.
when you think of the stereotype of a man, what is it?
But, when we are when we have talked about there is normally smoke, they normally drink,
Hmm.
uh, they drive very fast, very unsafe. I think
Yeah.
if you see if you are in the road and you see a car uh, driving, uh, doing um, risky things, you get surprised if you see a woman driving that car
Very
because,
true.
because because you expect to see a young man,
Hmm.
a young unbrained man.
Very true. So, we definitely have talked about some of those habits they have. And it kind of stems from that idea that like men are strong and they're dangerous and they don't listen to anyone else. They have this authority, and some of those ideas definitely are negatively affecting men. Do
Yes.
you think those ideas have ever negatively affected you and your life or someone else that you know?
Not to me, not to me,
Good.
not to me. I think it's more um, for young people. Uh, I think only for young people. When you get an age,
So why do you think it affects young people more than older generations?
well, because sure they are looking for his personality,
Hmm.
for his place, for his room in this society. Um, and well, that this can lead them to do some stupid things.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right. Let's continue reading a few more paragraphs. Will you read the next two paragraphs for us, starting with health economist Karen Greppin?
Health economist Karen Grippin of New York University agrees that more focus should go to stopping tobacco and alcohol use, but she doesn't think there should be specific policies for men versus women. If we focus on closing inequality, we'll miss the boat, she says. The goal is to reduce mortality, not to reduce inequalities in the measure of mortality. Grippin, who wasn't involved with the commentary, also doesn't think that the recent focus on women's health is a bad thing.
Mm.
Mhm.
So, what do you think between what we've been talking about? We've been saying that women's health gets more focus and more funding than men's health. Do you think that that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Mm, uh, I agree with Gripping. I think it's not a good. I don't think it's a good thing um, um, to focus more in women than in men, or in men than in women.
Hmm.
I
So, you
think
think it should be evened out?
even doubt.
Like more balanced.
Yes, 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 yes,
All
yes.
right.
Is it because the problem, for example, is the tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps um, they focus more in women now because some kind of they think the war is lost when it comes to men.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
Uh, and they don't want they don't want the women to reach the rate of tobacco that the men have, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the war is against tobacco in general, and, and,
Yeah.
and alcohol use, of course.
And being that we know so much about tobacco today and how bad it is for you and how deadly it can be, why do you think people continue to smoke? I mean, even new generations are starting to smoke, though
Hmm.
we know how bad it is. Why do you think that is?
Because it's a drug. It's a drug. Once you fell down the hands of the drug,
Mm.
any of their um, shapes. It's alcohol, tobacco, drugs, marijuana, whatever. You lose control.
Why do you think they start the first time? Why do they give tobacco an opportunity to take a hold?
Well, sometimes just to try it, to taste it.
So curiosity.
Curiosity, yes, 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 yes. But as I said, once you are in the hands of the drug, you lose your own control to it.
Yeah, really hard to quit once you've started.
You really know that tobacco is bad for health, but you continue. You continue.
Yeah.
Okay. I used to smoke until I was 40 years old.
So you have experience with this. You know what it's like to be addicted.
Yes. Even today, 12 years later, it's hard to believe that I don't smoke now. Because I always remember me with a cigar in the hand. Because
it's powerful.
I was smoking from I was 12.
Wow.
Yes. When I was 12.
So for a long time.
Yes. And I always since I was 20 more or less, I have always tried to give up smoking, and I didn't get it until I was 40.
Wow, so that was a long battle.
Yes. I'm very glad now. I'm very glad I gave up smoking.
Congratulations, it's very tough to do.
Thank you. And I can say it's a very hard thing to do. It's very difficult to leave the tobacco.
All right. Let's finish up. Can you read 2 more paragraphs for us?
Yes. Women are politically, economically disadvantaged around the world. She tells Schott. There are really important consequences for women's health. They play a large role in taking care of children when they get sick. There's a spillover effect in the house for the next generation, reaping things that maternal health may have been undervalued and underfunded in the past. In many places, women still have a high risk of dying during childbirth, which is completely avoidable, she says. The fact that this still happens is appalling. It's a blight on society that needs to be addressed.
Thanks. Any questions from that section?
No.
All right, so that answers the question for us, why, right? Why do people focus more on women's health? It's generally in the past been because they have the caretaking role and they play a large role with the future generations and children.
Yes. A good reason. Yes. It's good reason.
All right. And finish this up, and we'll have a wrap-up discussion before we finish class. Read the end of it.
With the recent emphasis on maternal health, she says, the world is making progress on this front. The risk of a mother dying during childbirth has declined, but has declined by nearly half worldwide since 1990. Has that necessarily driving up mortality in men? She asked. Probably not.
All right.
With the reason for she's the world is making progress on this one. The risk of driving up mortality in men. I don't understand the question. Has that necessarily driving up mortality in men?
So she's asking, because we've been focusing on how there's more funding for women's health and how we've made a lot of improvements on women's health worldwide. And her question is improving women's health really decreasing the men's health? And she says, no, it's not decreasing men's health, but that we just haven't been focusing on it as much. So we've been making improvements in one area and not in another.
So if we are if you are focusing on women's health, we are leaving the man's health. Yes, I know. I understand now the meaning.
So what's your final opinion now that we've talked about how women's health can be important for future generations, but at the same time, women's health should be treated as important as men's health? So what do you think would be the solution to this? Do you think funding should change or the focus should change?
I don't really know because it's difficult because if you think in the reasons we have read now, it makes sense to be focusing on women's health, but of course we have to look after health in general for women and for men.
Yeah, but it's a tough question.
Yes. I think the state could spend more money in giving information about health habits of life in general, but specifically in women's, because of the reasons we have read.
Yeah, it's a really complex issue, but we definitely could use to spend more time, money, and energy thinking about how to solve some of these problems.
Yes.
All right.
So. Because
any other comments or questions?
No. It was a private lesson today.
Yeah, you were a brave solo student.
Yeah, where are the students?
I don't know. That's a good question.
So this is the good time.
I guess so. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun, but there was pressure on you to be the only one answering things. So you did a great job, and thank you for being brave.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see you again soon, Paco. Thanks.
See you then. Bye-bye. Thank you.